David Tennant is not the 14th Doctor, according to David Tennant. So yeah, let's talk about it. Recently, in an interview, David Tennant has explicitly said he is not the 14th Doctor. If you want to check out the full article, I'll link it down below. But, long story short, he says that Ncuti is the next Doctor. This does bring up some very interesting questions which we're going to go over, but first of all, can I kind of say, good? I have to admit, David being the 14th Doctor and then making Ncuti the 15th just doesn't roll well with me. I think it does sit a little bit weird. David's had his era, I'm very happy he's going to come back, but overall we don't need David to have two numbers dedicated to him. Like, obviously, via the events of Stolen Earth Journey's End, David is technically the 10th and 11th, or technically, if you want to see it like it is in the canon, 11th and 12th incarnations, but we don't call it that, we just have David as the 10th Doctor for simplicity. But what does this mean? For implications for literally this month, I think it very clearly states that David Tennant is not going to be featuring in the Centenary. Now, it's my personal theory that neither David or Ncuti are going to be appearing in the Centenary. Obviously, I'd be talking about as a regeneration, but they didn't film a regeneration with either David or Ncuti at the time, and I don't think they're going to add one in. I genuinely think we will just leave and we'll see Jodie regenerating and likely cut to black. Mainly because at the time we didn't see anyone filming, and overall the 60th seems to be this very, very different thing. Which leads me on to very nicely to the implications for the 60th. Russel has said in interviews that no one has quite got the answer right yet. Even in the initial announcement for David and Catherine coming back, he kind of basically said this could be anything. This could be a parallel Earth, this could just be an adventure back from the 10th Doctor. No one has worked out what David is doing yet. And I think because a couple of leaks that weren't particularly credible, and because of the costume change, people automatically assumed that Jodie was going to degenerate into 10. And for some reason within the fan community, that's just been the ongoing theory, and now people just seemed dead sure that that was going to happen. But honestly, that just isn't the case anymore. I think this is much more likely to now be some form of parallel Earth thing or a trick. And we have the Toymaker around now, played by Neil Patrick Harris. It's very likely that character is the Toymaker, and the Toymaker character could very much lead into some form of David Tennant shenanigans, where he's a villain and, oh, illusions. I explained that great, didn't I? I smashed that. Let's go back a sec, because I think it's important to realise that David might be involved in some form of regeneration event. Because having speculated all that, it could very much mean that David means he isn't going to be classified as the next Doctor. Or, as some fans have speculated, David Tennant could be getting some form of subtitle. Like, for example, John Hurt did as the War Doctor. And there are also ways to look at it with the next Doctor. Because with David Tennant saying he isn't the next Doctor, it could very well just mean that David means that it is a degeneration system and he's kind of going back to the 10th Doctor, but just going forward from Jodie. Now, these comments from David do genuinely excite me. Because previously, like I've discussed, in the fan community, we just had this complete idea that it was just going to be David as the 14th Doctor. And while now it's very unlikely he'll be known as the 14th Doctor, that plotline is still a possibility. However, now we're allowed to have much more fun with the idea. There can be a lot more theorising done, and we now know much more about what's going to happen. Obviously, as well, as fans, we're going off the information that we have, and we know from previous David Tennant quotes, where he said many more characters have been filmed with behind the scenes, we don't know that David could be seen as more of a focal point in this story than he actually is. Like they've actively said, they're only announcing characters that have to be announced due to outside filming, and really, we've only seen David Tennant outside filming here and there for about a week, maybe a little bit more. But it is genuinely possible that David isn't the complete focus of the 60th like we've sometimes been speculating. Look, Russel will have come into this special with a very cool plan, and I think he will want to do cool and weird things without kind of stepping too much on the history of the show. Stepping in terms of, like, changing Doctor numbers, obviously he will celebrate elements as it's an anniversary. But I think in doing that, he will have come to the show wanting to do cool and unique ideas. And to do that, I don't think it makes sense for David to be the 14th Doctor, and I think that's what David is alluding to here. What did you think of the ideas I said in this video? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Do these quotes mean nothing? Do these quotes mean more than I've alluded to? Let me know in the comments below. And this is where I expand on David Tennant's comments talking about how there are more characters going to appear. I think it's a kind of interesting video, and I think you should click on it. Look. It's a Jadoon. The Jadoon says, watch that video. So cool. It's a Jadoon.